And welcome everybody. My name is Aaron White. I'm WalkMe's Customer Events Manager, and welcome to our first ever DAP Pro Show. This is a new event series that we're launching to offer you the chance to hear directly from some of the leading digital adoption professionals out there about how they do what they do, and get a chance to interact with them directly about those things. So welcome, we'll see how this goes, but our goal for today is that you'll walk away with actionable, practical guidance and inspiration for your own digital adoption efforts. Today's topic is ROI and reporting. So we're going to be discussing how you measure the value of your digital adoption investment, how you report those results throughout your organization, and how all of that can help drive greater organizational growth and success. So today we have guests from two amazing companies, both of which were finalists in this year's WalkMe Realizer Awards. Those awards spotlight companies and industry leaders that are using and evangelizing digital adoption to realize the full potential of technology in their respective spaces. So first we have Ty Campbell, Jenna Lansky, and Ben Stone from United Rentals. They were the finalists in the category of transformational business impact. And then we'll hear from Brad Harmon and Heather Wurtz from Lease Accelerator, finalist for Best Customer Experience. And after we hear from both of them, we'll get everyone together for a panel discussion moderated by WalkMe program architect Catherine Parish. And after that, our guests will be more than happy to answer your questions, so we'll leave plenty of time for that. Right before we get started, a few quick housekeeping items. Yes, we are recording the webinar today, and you'll receive a link to the recording after the event. You are muted, but we do encourage interaction, obviously, with our silly music and everything like that. So please use the chat to share your thoughts, comments, and reactions throughout the event. Finally, for questions specifically, we want to make sure our presenters and our moderators see those. So please keep those separate from the main chat. We're going to ask you to use the dedicated Q&A button on your Zoom controls if you have a question. We might not get to all the questions, but we will definitely do our best. Okay. First up today, we have our team from United Rentals. Ty Campbell is Director of Customer Success. He's been with United Rentals since 2005. Ben Stone is a Digital Customer Success Analyst, and he has been with United Rentals since 2018. I'll turn it over to you two. Welcome, Ty and Ben.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you to WalkMe and the whole team for having us and letting us, let Ben and I kind of share our story. Let me first tell you a little bit about United Rentals as we kind of get into it, give you some idea of where we come from. United Rentals is the largest rental equipment company in the world. It is a large cap company. We've got about 16 billion in assets, about 20,000 people. We've got over 1,300 branches around the world, 49 states, all the Canadian provinces. We have them in Europe and in Australia, New Zealand. It's a pretty big monster. And we take that role as a leader in the industry very seriously. And so we've kind of started to apply what we call a Work United mindset to just about everything we do, including our people and the planet for that matter. United Rentals, about a third of our sales and management positions are diverse employees. About 10% of our workforce is made up of veterans. From a safety perspective, we lead in a number of categories around safety, and our OSHA reportable rates are below 1, which is fantastic and best in class. And then around our sustainability, environmental stewardship goals, we've got a sustainability and footprint reduction goal by 2030 of 35%. 27% of our entire fleet of eligible fleet is already electric and hybrid. So, I mean, we really do kind of take our role seriously, and we apply that same type of innovation and mindset, Work United mindset, to our digital tools. And so when we look at Total Control, which is the kind of the tool that we use with our digital adoption platform, WalkMe, Total Control is a consumption management tool. It helps our customers really manage all their rental equipment across all phases of project delivery, from the job site all the way to the back office to the boardrooms. And we give them tools to make really smart, impactful decisions on the fly every day around the company. And so when we thought about how we could take our vision as a customer success team, which was to deliver best practices at scale in a repeatable way, driving value for the customer and the company, to make sure that we can enable a safe and sustainable work site. We looked out at the landscape of digital adoption platforms, and we felt like WalkMe fit what we wanted to do best. The results have been pretty cool. We thought when we were doing this process with WalkMe, what we thought was that to have a best in class onboarding experience would really be like the catalyst for all these other kind of boxes we want to check. So time to value, we've seen over a 5% reduction in the time that our customers need to be in the system. And that doesn't sound like a lot until you realize it's like greater than 15 seconds. And that is, our customers want to get in and out every day. And we can see, think about watching a spinning wheel for 15 seconds. It would drive you crazy today. Our adoption has gotten deeper. Over 62% of our customers now are well adopted using multiple features. We've eliminated some of the friction points in our workflows, and they come back over and over again. 95% of our digitally engaged revenue is recurring revenue that comes in every month using our tools, making sure they get stuff done. WalkMe's been a pretty great tool. Ben is going to show you a little bit about how we actually use the tool to drive some of these results.
Thanks, Ty. So to achieve our goal of delivering that best-in-class onboarding experience, we knew it was important for us first to kind of put ourselves in our customers' shoes and see the way that our current digital users were doing business with us online. So before we implemented any WalkMe solutions, we took to that WalkMe Insights page, which was a key factor throughout that process. Using the Insights page allowed us to garner data on our processes before implementing new content is something that we would recommend for any new DAP user out there. It provided us with a unique view into our customers' behavior and allowed us to kind of track how our processes were looking prior to getting any solutions on the platform. The tracked events, streaming session playback, and menu searches helped identify which of our key workflows increase user time to action and which of those flows created friction points between total control and our customers. Through this discovery exercise, we had learned that the most frequently searched topics in our help center were related to online bill pay management. So once we knew that it was our customers' back office personnel that were driving the desire for a more streamlined workflow, we immediately got to work with WalkMe. At the start of this year, we coupled WalkMe's smart walkthroughs, launchers, and smart tips with some of our internal teams. We generated digitally marketed customer communications around the ease of submitting bill payments and lien releases online. By loading some of our WalkMe content into Total Control and providing our sales team with the permalinks to link our customers directly to those smart walkthroughs they needed, we saw a transformational impact on our business in only 1 month since the discovery exercise. Our online payments increased by greater than 60% year over year in February, while lien releases saw a jump of nearly 20% for the same period. So just in this short time period, by utilizing WalkMe, we were not only able to make the process easier for our customers, but it helped us on the internal side because we had customers paying more frequently, they were paying quicker, and for them, submitting those lien releases gets the money back in their pocket sooner than the process prior. So after we saw some success with driving the digital adoption through WalkMe, we wanted to take it a step further. We've taken the approach that helped deliver success with our online payments and spread it throughout all of Total Control, creating content around renting equipment, cost management, and even managing owned equipment fleets. In many cases, there are numerous people within various roles throughout our customers' organizations that need to conduct business with United Rentals. So generating these additional touch points to create a user-friendly worksite platform has helped us tremendously with increasing our digital adoption. Enabling safe, sustainable, and productive worksites through implementing WalkMe on Total Control has become the catalyst for everything we do here in the customer success team at United Rentals. Increasing our digital adoption and streamlining our onboarding experience will continue to be the main goals of Total Control. And with the aid of WalkMe, these goals become more and more obtainable as each day passes. Now, before we wrap it up, I'm going to kick it back over to Ty, and he'll close us out. So first, he's going to have to unmute his mic, and then he'll close it out.
I'll tell you, just to close it out, when you think about ROI, what we've learned through our own analysis at the company is that as our customers use more of our digital factors, our features and solutions, we tend to see a higher return on investment for both the customer and for United Rentals. They save more money and time, and we get more wallet share from the customer. So by doing that, to give you an idea, over this past year, we've added over 10,000 recurring customers to our digital funnel, generating an additional almost $1 billion in engaged revenue. And those are the customers that are coming back every month. So I think it's really helped keep the customers in the system, making a tool that's easy to use for them.
Awesome. Amazing, you two. Thank you so much for sharing that. Everybody throw an emoji in the chat or something, just an applause or something like that if you'd like, but really appreciate Ty and Ben, you guys sharing that, and we look forward to hearing more from you during the Q&A and the panel discussion. But for right now, I'll welcome our next team from Lease Accelerator. Brad Harmon is customer experience specialist at Lease Accelerator. He's been in instructional design and front-end programming for 20 plus years. He's been building WalkMe and TeachMe solutions for 2+ years. He says he's living the Colorado life. And then we have Heather Wurtz, Senior Director, Customer Experience, Digital Solutions from Flower Mound, Texas. I'd like to welcome both of them to the virtual DAP Pro Show stage.
Okay, hey, thanks a lot for having us.
Thanks, Aaron.
Get my slideshow underway. Okay, so as Aaron mentioned, my name is Brad Harmon, and I'm here with my cohort Heather Wurtz, and we just wanted to share one of our many tools that we implement from WalkMe that we lovingly call Alex Alerts. And Alex is this handsome guy over here with the glasses and the bow tie that you can see. He's kind of our in-app WalkMe mascot. So at Lease Accelerator, we have a customer-facing software that allows companies to manage all of their leases. And lease accounting is quite complicated, as you might imagine. And so we've done everything that we can on our end to make the management of those leases, straightforward and simple. But try as we might, there's still some users that end up doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and even very minor mistakes that they make when they're entering a lease, for instance, sometimes propagates into very huge issues further down the line. And then our product support specialists will spend quite a bit of time trying to clean up mistakes made by customers when they open up trouble tickets. And even something as innocuous as entering a special character, as you can see in this example, it can cause huge problems and cost lots of time and effort in cleaning up issues down the road. So our product support team came to us and said, hey, we kind of see some of these common themes come up in our user caused trouble tickets. Is there anything that you can do using WalkMe to quickly implement something that would help alleviate these or even stop them before they even start? And so we said, sure. And that's where the Alex Alerts came from. And Alex Alerts are basically, think of maybe smart tips or, even a shout out or something that pops up in the app at the point of which a customer is performing some kind of, manipulation on their lease or in this case, they were entering a new lease into their system and they did something wrong. And then our friend Alex will pop up, and most of the times he's pretty nice, but you can kind of see this when he's a little bit, stern looking. He's got his hand up, telling them to, hey, wait a minute, you don't want to do this. And they're basically built using, kind of a combination of different WalkMe solutions. So this one right here that you're looking at is really a validation smart tip. But a lot of times we'll build them using launchers and, smart walkthroughs, shout outs, and kind of any combination of that. In some cases, we provide additional options, like we'll float a button over these little shout outs that pop up that, will provide an instructional video. Say, for instance, if they're doing something wrong, we'll give them an instructional video, or, a link to a guide to give them the proper information. Or in some cases, we'll even allow them to launch a walkthrough from that point that will take them to the correct pathway that they're intending to take to keep them from, messing something up in their system. So we have a whole deployment process built around this, and it's, as you'll see, it's very data driven. Starting with the request part of this process here, we just use a Microsoft SharePoint form, and we capture information from anybody that wants to request a new Alex alert. It can be somebody from our product support or customer support, or even some of our internal subject matter experts will sometimes request an Alex alert. And it's basically, we're just gathering, what is the issue that needs to be solved? At what point is it happening? Where is it happening within the system? What is the user doing? And then what is the messaging that you're intending to display to the user? And so we'll grab that, and then we go into this review where we have a bi-weekly review call with the individuals that are requesting these Alex alerts. And the whole team will kind of go through the list and look at them and say, okay, well, yeah, this is something that we need to spend some time building. It'll, end up with a big return. So we'll, accept them or reject them from there, and then, just go into the build, publish, and all that. But this is an example here of the request form that we use. And again, it's just, we're gathering information about what the issue is that we're trying to solve. Where is it happening within the user interface, and then the messaging. Once that gets submitted, we're tracking everything through a Slack channel. So the entire team will be notified of the new incoming request. It'll say who requested it and the title of the request that was entered, as well as provide a link to it. And then as we're building these, we'll use little indicators on the requests themselves to let people know that, hey, it's in process, or this is ready for testing. So everybody in this channel knows to go out and log into the system and try out, and just make sure that the Alex alert is working as expected. And then once it's gone through testing and it's approved, we get a little indicator for that. And then we go into our form and just mark it as published and put the publish date in there so we can keep track of those. And the other nice thing about that form is that with the SharePoint list in the background, we're cataloging all of the Alex alerts that we have out there. So somebody from our product support team thinks that we need an Alex alert for something in our system, they can go into that list and make sure that that doesn't actually exist already before they even go into the request. So one of the big components is, with our Alex alerts is, our monitoring that helps us, kind of keep track of what we have and decide what it is that we want to maintain, as far as, putting the development effort into maintaining some of these Alex alerts, or if something that's not being used or seen by our users, we'll decide to archive those. And I will let Heather take that away.
Thanks, Brad. So my computer's crashed twice since I joined the meeting, and I'm on mobile, so forgive me. We're embracing the funkiness. That's what we do, right, Aaron?
You said you were going to bring the funk, so you're doing it.
Hey, best I can do. So in so much as we monitor our content, we look at specific content to answer specific questions, of course. But from a general perspective, to maintain the content that already exists, which it probably right around 1,200 pieces of content in a single application now and growing. What we try to do is pull data from insights around engagement. And then that gets pulled into a dashboard that I built in Power BI that Brad and Jorgen and Corinna on the team go through pretty much daily to make updates, just a project plan. And then when they're looking at it to just get perspective and back out a little bit, they can go to the dashboard and it's programmed to pull in those engagement metrics. And then the list that you see in the center there will highlight red or yellow or orange yellow color, depending on the amount of engagement that you're seeing over the course of the last, let's say 90 days is what this is based on. So at just a high level, quick glance, they'll know if that item is in scope for the next release and it is not being engaged with, is it then a consideration for us to archive it until it either becomes valuable again or we eliminate the need for the content. So the feature is gone or the bug is fixed or the whatever. But what we are using there is the unique user engagement metrics from insights in combination with all those request forms that come in. Those go into a list. We have an editor output that identifies each WalkMe object, and then all of that stuff comes together here. So we have actual data upon which we can base those decisions. Now, we also use this for communication, and we'll go over that in a minute. Go ahead, Brad. Okay, so the example that Brad started us off with is the special characters example. Now, I don't have the notes in front of me, but just on the slide, you can see that we've got 197 guidance views of that validation smart tip. Now, with every guidance view, we can assume that they tried to enter a special character and were prevented. What that does on the support side is it stops a support ticket from being necessary, because if they had been allowed to enter the special character, which they would have been, then they would have needed to enter a support ticket and have it resolved by the back office. Now, we took an average of how long a level 3-4 priority ticket takes to resolve, 10 days. And we're working under the assumption that someone is dedicating about an hour a day to that ticket. And then the average cost per hour for the support representatives gives us the average cost total per ticket. And then with that, we can just extrapolate that we've prevented this spend. The monthly, quarterly, and annual is just the aggregation of that information with a single smart tip with validation. So if you think about the content that you make in terms of monetization, how can I talk to my executive team or stakeholders about the value that my team delivers? This is how you do that. So with every undertaking, what I try to do from a process perspective is enable our team to function with or without any given component. And the best way to do that is to document all of your processes and start at the earliest point with formalization, some sort of form where information is captured and kept, and you've got an audit trail, you have, timestamps, it's referenceable by others in the business and the team. If you've documented your process, you know where to go to find the information. The additional steps with automation and that kind of thing, those notifications are important, but that can come in time. If you don't start your intake with a documented form, you're losing the data from the beginning. So by capturing on the front end, you're enabling yourself on the back end to prove out your value to the business, to your teammates, to the people at WalkMe and the people on the webinars, all that stuff. If you don't start to capture your data, it's all guessing. And if I'm going to listen to you and you're guessing, then you have to have my trust already. And that's almost never the case. And the best way to sort of network through all the possibilities is to talk to other people who are in the same boat as you. So we've got the WalkMe World community, which most of the people that I saw chatting on the chat engage in regularly. I know I'm always ready to help somebody that's ready to go. And we've got a Slack workspace that we use just to bounce around ideas or, whatever conversations you want to have are appropriate there. The WalkMe World is about to get moved over. Hey, Mary. But the link that's in the chat is going to go with it. So if you're not already a member over there, click it, join it, and use it as much as possible.
Awesome. Thank you, Brad and Heather. Emoji reactions in the chat for Brad and Heather, please. And we will make our way over to the panel segment of our event today. So I'll invite all our guests back to our stage, if we can call it that, and welcome our moderator, Catherine Parish, for a few questions. And then remember, we have dedicated audience Q&A time coming up soon. So please use the Q&A button on your Zoom controls for any questions that you would like to have our panelists answer in just a bit. But Catherine, I will hand things over to you.
Thanks, Aaron. So we have a few questions that we want to go through, but let's start with, let's say Ben. Why do you think that sharing ROI and data is so important to other DAP professionals?
Well, I might kick this one over to Ty, if that's all right.
Yes, absolutely. So, when we talk about sharing all those numbers internally, there's a lot of folks that, first of all, that don't really understand what customer success does and adoption professionals do internally, onboarding professionals. So kind of giving them an idea on not only how it benefits the customer, but as Heather kind of showed, how it creates capacity and processes, and there's an actual tangible hard dollar savings opportunity in creating better workflows internally also. And when you share those, you kind of create this critical mass of people who want to engage in winning and take advantage of those. So now you get more stakeholders in different parts of the company, whether it be a business unit or a product development team, wanting to see how you can leverage a tool like WalkMe to drive better results on their end, right? Not just the customer.
Absolutely. And I'm assuming that's probably evolved or changed over your evolution or growth with WalkMe. Is that correct?
Yeah, for us, for sure. When we started, again, we just were looking at one little component, it's the onboarding experience and how we could get our customers just to get in the tool and get to work as quick as possible. That was kind of our initial thought. But once we started understanding the workflows and how it related to other business units internally, then we really started to be able to share that back And for instance, our credit and billing teams are totally pumped because now with the way we created a workflow, for instance, when a customer pays a bill today, we say, hey, would you like to do a lien release request? Well, that's a win on two areas. We take about 600 lien release requests every single day. And by increasing the percentage of them that are digital, they can process them within 3 hours instead of taking up to 3 to 4 days trying to do it back and forth via email. So huge capacity savings for our billing folks, and our customers love it because that's how they get paid. Once a lien release is satisfied, then they can bill and get paid. So yes, so we've evolved over time to try to find where there's always a win-win for the customer and internal.
Mm-hmm. And I think most people within the audience can probably resonate as well. As there's so much power with DAP that it can start with one use case or one area, and then someone sees it and loves it and gets interested in something that's more resonating with them, something personal. And that's where you start to grow and snowball interest about WalkMe itself. Yeah. So Brad, kind of similar question to yourself, like how has your criteria or evolution of your program evolved over time as it's matured?
That's a really good question. So we've implemented a lot of different of the solutions available with WalkMe and even with TeachMe. We started off, implementing all of our training through just a traditional learning management system, and have since moved all of that content over into TeachMe. So we were able to utilize a lot of the smart walkthroughs and content that we built in our WalkMe instance to just basically provide all of our training directly within the user interface. And that's been a huge win for us because, net result is we have much smarter and more capable users at the end of the day, which again, goes right back to that ROI, much fewer problems, fewer trouble tickets, fewer calls with our product support and our customer support teams. And it's gotten rave reviews. Everybody loves Alex. How can you not?
I just love, and I saw that in the chat, everyone loves the personification too of that. You have someone to go back to for help. Heather, question for you. I really saw that you kind of were bringing a lot of analytics and kind of math to your slide, and also, yes, I loved the visual is really beautiful. But what would you recommend in terms of any resources for people that are getting started or want to up-level their analytics game?
So as far as analytics goes, WalkMe Insights is amazing. It's really the value that it provides just on its own is dependent on how you use WalkMe and what products you have access to. We do not have access to UI intelligence and DXA, which I regularly complain about and drool over. But that's why we have to kind of suck it out and then make our own. And that's fine. I understand the reason behind that. But the tools themselves that I use are Power BI, Excel reports, just as like a homemade database, and SharePoint. SharePoint lists and Excel are essentially the same thing. The complexity that you develop it to is going to be dependent on your skill set. It's not an impossible task by any stretch for anybody to pick up and start trying to learn. It's just, get your vocabulary down and don't let the tools intimidate you. There's always going to be an acronym that makes you shudder, but get past it. It's fine. There are also opportunities in the integration workspace when you go to Insights to set up webhooks. I use those all the time for like notifications and stuff, NPS survey, all that stuff. And then I've also got one that I use to deliver data to Salesforce, which we refer to when we're trying to get a handle on where, like, a person who's in implementation, how much training have they done with our Teach Me, that kind of stuff. We store that in Salesforce so that the project teams can access it quickly because they're completely unfamiliar with Insights. So really it depends on who you want to access your data and what you have available natively in WalkMe. But our implementation is only external out of necessity. I'm working on storing all that data in a database and creating a higher level dashboard. But for the time being and for these purposes, whatever you have access to will work.
I like that you're also making it simple. If you have things that you're accessible or that are accessible to you, use those first. You know, there's other tools that maybe could come in the future, but rely on the basics to start. So I think that's helpful. I do want to leave some additional time for the Q&A section, so we'll move over to that. So thank you for those that have put a question in there. For those that haven't, feel free to open up your little Q&A at the bottom of your window and type in some question that you might have. So let's see the first one. Christy, hi Christy. You ask, wondering if you have any templates, sample intake forms, and best practices on what to include. So I think this is a really great question and kind of stems from, you know, Heather explaining that you can ask for data or information on the front end. And I do have a template I'm willing to share. Aaron, I can give that to you, see if we can kind of put that somewhere for recap. But at the end of the day, try to consider what questions you're frequently and commonly asking subject matter experts or people within the business, and try putting that in its own document. The ones that I most commonly see are kind of who's who in the zoo, you know, who should our team be working with, so that you're aware of who you need to connect with on who's the subject matter expert, but also who needs to approve content before it goes live and who's going to test it. But then also, what's the business case? So breaking that down into what's the business problem, how do you know it's a problem, and is there any metrics to quantify that problem? Because you can use that at the beginning and then you can use it later on to help you with your narrative or ROI story as well. But curious, for, you know, United Rentals and Lease Accelerator, do you have any additional questions or recommendations when trying to gather information from teams? Oh, Ty, you're on mute.
Are you asking that to us?
Yeah. Do you have any additional questions that you would include in like an intake or like request form for WalkMe?
You know, we're kind of loving learning from Heather and her team right now on intake forms. We've got a couple of systems that we use today to kind of get suggestions from the field and figure out. But thus far, our primary intake system has just been the analytics out of Insights. And we look through the different flows, maybe think of some of the business objectives we have internally and what we'd like to achieve. And we try to marry those up. You know, again, we always talk about those win-wins. So formal intake systems are driven for us by what are our business objectives, and we have those listed out. And then where are those problems that we can find in the Insights page, and then we just list them out and we go do them. Ben crushes content all the time for us. But you know, for us, we were talking about learning in it earlier, and now marrying it to the concept of intake. You know, our biggest thing has always been just awareness and enablement for both our sales folks internally and for our customers. And so that's taken the majority of our time, and now we're doing these process issues. So no particular forms. I'd love to see yours.
Yeah, happy to share. Heather or Brad, within your kind of request form, are there any additional questions that you have in there that could potentially be helpful for others?
I'll let Heather weigh in, but it's kind of hard because we have our form really designed around, you know, our particular application. You know, for instance, we have, you know, workspaces, and then within that we have tiles, and then with that we have, you know, sections and form fields and that kind of thing. So that's kind of, you know, what we specifically gather. But one of the things that I have really learned with forms in general is that, you know, try to gain as much specifics as possible. Because if you leave anything open to interpretation, you know, it's going to come to, you know, a WalkMe developer such as myself, and I'll just be like, I think I know what you're talking about, but, and then it's going to lead to a conversation, which isn't a bad thing, but, you know, kind of the point of a form is to, you know, have the information there so you can go and implement what needs to be done. But
yeah, I would agree with that, Brad. If when someone who is unfamiliar with our actual processes fills out one of our forms, I think they benefit from the fact that we try to keep it succinct. So we're not going to use a lot of jargon that is going to scare them away, because we want them to engage with us. We'll ask them, instead of like, what deployable do you think is good for this? We'll ask something more general, like, what is the nature of the population you want to target? And then also we set the expectation in most of our forms that if we have questions, the person submitting the form is going to be contacted directly by someone on our team. Now, the majority of the time, it's the same people submitting the forms, because we engage regularly with our product team and with our support team and our success team. So that really was beneficial to us on the front end of things. But as we expand, I expect that we will engage further with new people. We'll have new hires, and we want to make sure that they're invited to. So following those general rules just across the board, I think is probably helpful for our processes and keeps us straight.
Thank you for that. I know we're kind of getting close to nearish wrap up time, but I wanted to ask every participant within our panel, if you could give, you know, one tip or suggestion to someone out there in our DAP audience, what would it be? And Heather, since you spoke last, would you like to start?
I think I've emphasized already the need to capture data on the front end, but I didn't mention that baseline information before you build, like what United Rentals did before they decided to tackle the specific section of onboarding, is the only way you're going to be able to extrapolate the value that you're providing. If you don't have baseline data from a builder's perspective in the forms that you use to take in requests, or from the business perspective of, sure, you made this content and it's accessible to our customers, but what's the real value? If you don't know what it was before you did that, then you're not going to be able to say this is how much we've improved. So capture the data, the baseline data and the incoming data.
I love that. I know that's something that we hear a lot. Sometimes it's a struggle to kind of get that information from people, but if you can do that, that's amazing. Ty, what would be your kind of one tip for a DAP professional?
It stays with data, because the one thing I found interesting in the very early days when we first put the snippet on our system and started looking at how our customers were using the system was, you know, we always, you frame how customers use it by what you intend for them to do, not what they actually do. And so once we saw what they were actually doing and where they had issues, or where, and you could, I mean, now it's like muscle memory. I mean, I literally open it every day. I look at it every night, and I know exactly the patterns that I'm seeing. I know what's happening when customers are in the system, when they're out. So the one thing I would say is spend a lot of time in the very early days. Just don't even think about what you want to develop in the content. Just in the early days, and we had about 3 months or so where we just watched our customers use the system. And then we could come to it with a whole new set of eyes, a different point of reference. It was from a customer's perspective and a user perspective versus the product perspective. So data. No.
One of my favorite visual representations of exactly what you mentioned, Ty, there's what you expect the product wants someone to do, and that's like the hiking switchbacks. But then there's what the user actually does, and that's the like random rogue trail that like cuts directly straight up a hill.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, we're humans. We don't always follow the path. So
that's right.
I love that tip.
Yeah.
Ben, anything from your perspective?
Yeah, so I'll stray away from the data a little bit, though I do love it, and certainly am a huge fan of the insights page. But one thing that's truly helped Ty and I, especially with the content creation, as two folks who have not spent too much time in using a DAP before our WalkMe journey, was the WalkMe community page. I've learned more than I could have imagined from people all over the country, all over the globe, working for different companies. And sometimes it's cases where you kind of go on there and whether it be a Tip Tuesday or just a post from somebody else, you can kind of pick up on things that maybe you wouldn't have thought of otherwise. So I know it's happened a few times where I go in there trying to solve an issue that I'm having. Next thing I know, I'm reading through somebody's post, I'm watching videos on how they're doing something and turn it around completely, open up the editor and start, firing away at bringing that into total control. So taking the time to kind of sit back and listen to what other folks have to say and learning from their experiences is, in my eyes, from the content standpoint, equally as important as anything else that you can do.
I love that. There's so many DAP professionals, Tip Tuesdays, but also like the community of helping one another. And then Brad, last but not least, any one takeaway or tip from yourself?
Oh man, saving the best for last. So yeah, one of the questions that came in was how easy was it for me to, kind of pick up and start building in WalkMe? So I'll kind of go on that for everybody. I think, for anybody, regardless of your, past experience, whether or not you have programming or instructional design or whatever it is, coming into WalkMe, the editor is pretty easy to use. It's pretty intuitive. You can start building solutions pretty quickly without too much of a learning curve and time spent. So that's one of the really nice things about it. But one of the other nice things about WalkMe is, for somebody who does know a little bit of CSS or HTML and all that kind of fun stuff, I mean, you can really make, some pretty elaborate solutions using some of the WalkMe content. Like case in point with our Alex alerts, like I mentioned, sometimes we'll have smart tips that have, layers of things like launchers built on top of those. And sometimes we'll kind of mix them with shout outs and walkthroughs and stuff like that. So it can get quite elaborate, and that's the nice thing about it, but it can also be very easy to implement and if you just keep it basic too. So
Brad brings me to another little mini questions. I think I saw someone in the chat ask if you had created kind of that Ask Alex in the bottom corner. Is that the WalkMe widget, like just like redesigned?
So yeah, we got a little tricky with that. We actually have our widget off the browser side using CSS, and then we've attached a launcher, which is our Alex guy, down to the lower right hand corner. So
well, it looks great. Whatever you're doing, it looks great.
thank you.
Well, wonderful. So Aaron, I think I'll pass it back to you for wrap up.
Awesome. Thank you. So much great information. Thank you to each of our panelists. If you submitted a question in the Q&A section, our panelists have not only been responding here verbally, but they've all been behind the scenes typing away, responding to your questions in that Q&A section. So if you didn't hear your question answered here, go back and check. There's an answered tab that you might see in there, and you'll probably find an answer from our panelists. So all of that information is stuff that we are archiving, and as Mary has been saying in the chat as well, when we relaunch the community on a new platform September 18th, we will be building an archive of these event recordings, including like the resources that are being shared, the questions that are being asked and answered. All of that stuff will be accessible in the new community very soon. So if you're looking for that or want to revisit it or share it with somebody, you'll be able to do that very easily. A couple other things to wrap up with here. Thank you all for your comments in the chat. It seems like this DAP Pro Show format is something that you all are interested in. So good news, we've got another one scheduled. It's coming up October 5th at 8 a.m. Pacific time, same time as this one. The topic we're looking at for that one is internal advocacy. And Lacey and I are already in conversation with a couple of companies that are excited to present at that one. So looking forward to sharing more when we have a few more details. Some other events you may want to know about. We've got the Welcome to WalkMe webinar coming up on August 25th at both 9 a.m. Eastern and 1 p.m. Pacific. This is for if you know anybody who is brand new in their WalkMe journey and is looking for where to get started, who are the teams I should know, what are the resources I should know about, those kinds of things. Be sure to join this webinar or share this webinar. That will be a great starting point for them. Additionally, we have the WalkMe webinar, monthly WalkMe webinar coming up next week. The topic was originally reported to be something different. We had to pivot at the last minute, but it's going to be on UI intelligence. So that's at 8 a.m. Pacific, August 30th next week. And the links for all of these things I am posting in the chat right now. September 28th, we've got another WalkMe webinar. That's a topic to be determined. And of course, as was just mentioned in the chat, Elevate is coming up. So be sure to check that one out. Lacey has graciously just put the link to that in there as well. You can attend either in person in San Francisco or virtually. The option is there, and lots of cool things coming up with that event too. I think that's it. So thank you all for joining us for the first ever DAP Pro Show today. As we wrap up, I do have one more thing now that I remember. We would love it if you could just let us know what you thought of this event. This feedback does help us with future events and making sure that we are delivering experiences and content that actually resonates with you. So please just take a couple seconds, give us a quick score, and let us know how we did. It is something we really appreciate. Additionally, as the event ends, you'll be taken to an optional post-event survey where you can chime in if you feel like it and let us know what are some future topics you'd like to hear us address. What would be most beneficial to you? Where can we help you out on your digital adoption journey? Those things are all very beneficial to us as well. In closing, panelists, any final thoughts, anything anybody would like to share as we wrap up here today?
Just thank you for the opportunity to share. It was great to learn from Brad and Heather, and look forward to the next event. Thank you.
And connect with everybody on LinkedIn, because WalkMe is a huge presence there, and you're likely to benefit from those connections.
Awesome. Great tips. Well, thank you all. I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and that's going to wrap it up. So we'll see you next time, and enjoy your Wednesday.